T-Mobile Sprint merger because, man, you go around, you ask people, they'll think it's finally done. It's over. We finally got one big company, one big happy family, the T-Mobile Sprint company. You know, a year in the making, really more for T-Mobile. If you think about it, when you look at back when they was trying to merge with AT&T and regulators broke that up, and then you had them trying to merge with Sprint now, and regulators like, well, we're not quite feeling that. So, after all this time, it's all done. Everybody should be excited. You know, let's make it happen. But as Lee Corso would say, not so fast, my friend. You have some haters in the building, and the haters will be your Texas State Attorney General Ken Paxton, as well as a other group of officials who are looking to block the merger, as that trial will actually begin in December. So basically, what it is T-Mobile had to find a way to have a fourth competitor because a lot of people are saying out there that, okay, you taking the number 3 to the number 4 competitor, they're merging, and now you don't have a fourth company. You just took out the competition. And this is some of the things that, these regulators are complaining. They're saying that when you do this, you are hurting competition. And particularly the Texas General Attorney or Attorney General Ken Paxton is saying that, this is hurting Texas. And there are a lot of people who, when this happened, they're going to lose out on another carrier and lose out on the competition. And we have to ask the question, is this a legit complaint? Or are these politicians complaining because their pockets not getting fatter and their palms are not getting greased? And we have to ask those questions because me personally, after reading through it, I almost got to call shenanigans on this. And this is why. First of all, those of you who've been to Texas, if you live outside of the big cities, you're not relying on T-Mobile and Sprint anyway. Why? Because most of you can't get service out there at all. So the complainants say that, oh man, if we were to allow T-Mobile and Sprint to merge, it's going to hurt some of our constituents, who rely on their service. Well, some of your constituents are not able to use their service because, quite frankly, their service sucks in those areas. So they have to rely on someone else like a Verizon, AT&T anyway. So let's go ahead and take that out of the fold. And let's just say for those customers that do live in the metro area, all right, for those that, again, trying to save money, they're not going to T-Mobile and Sprint. They're going to somewhere else. They're going to Metro PCS. They're going to Boost Mobile, Cricket, or some of those other non-contract carriers. So they're all right. In fact, the simple fact that one of these solutions to make the merger happen was to pretty much form a fourth company, which basically all they did was took the Boost, Virgin, and the non-contract carriers that Sprint and T-Mobile had and gave it to Dish so they can form another competitive network. Okay, you pretty much got a network that is made for the customer that's wanting a smaller carrier or a cheaper brand, and you were going to get that. So for me to read this and hear that, politicians are, quote, concerned about their constituents, again, I don't see where you're forming this. Now, one area I may agree with if you're worried about the jobs, if you feel like, okay, if you allow T-Mobile and Sprint to merge, you have a potential where, just like with any company that merged, they're not going to want to keep two of the same thing. Especially if you in these areas like in a mall where you got a T-Mobile store and a Sprint store, they're not going to keep them both open. Somebody is going to get some stores are going to get closed, and there are going to be some jobs that are going to be lost as a result of it. So if that is the issue you want to bring, I can see that, but I also have an argument to that as well, for the simple fact that basically they said Dish is going to pick up some of those stores anyway. So yes, you're going to have some of those stores closing as a result of the T-Mobile Sprint thing, but they're going to get picked back up if Dish become their own network. And I know Dish is going to probably say no, but I'm pretty sure Dish is going to want to do that because they're not going to pay all that money for that and not have an opportunity to utilize this. And they're going to want to. Why? Because they see that their competition, AT&T, DirecTV, have a store right now with a setup where you can go into the store, buy a phone, and see pretty much DirecTV satellite dishes and all this stuff plastered all around the store. So for Dish, This allows them to compete with AT&T DirecTV to have their own little store where they can have phones and they can have satellite dish and all that stuff, and it pretty much mimic a similar store and feel to what AT&T is doing, which will allow them to really compete with them. So to argue that this is going to be bad for the constituents and bad for the workers, I kind of say no. I think it would be they should be just fine because they're going to still need some workers to work those stores. And a lot of the people that may be a victim of not being a part of the AT&T T-Mobile merger and get canned on the street may find themselves be able to pretty much walk right into the same building and just have a different name tag on and work for Dish and or for Dish's network. And like I said, again, the customers that's going to gravitate to that network is going to be in those larger cities anyway. Those people, like I said last week on my podcast, that do gravitate to Dish, like someone like my grandmother, someone like my uncle, someone who I know that are not really into cord cutting, they're okay with these satellite dishes, and they gravitate more to the Boost Mobile and the Metro PCS because they're cheaper. That's going to be ideal for them. They can go to one place to get help with their satellite dish and their smartphone. And like I said, for Dish, it makes sense. And really for competition in general, it makes sense. And this goes back to, the hypocrisy of all this, because for them to complain about competition here, given the fact that we continue to allow in all these states and all these cities and municipalities, cable companies to pretty much have a monopoly. In a lot of cities, you have one cable company you can choose from, and that's it. You can't choose anything else. They have a built-in monopoly there. And it's either you have service with us or you don't get service at all. So for you to say that you are about competition, you have a problem with monopolies, but you haven't yet to break this up, because you got backdoor deals with these cable companies, man, come on. Don't go ahead and tell me that, you concerned about it. I am more believing that the only concern you have is that your palms were not greased, you weren't approached, you're not getting something out of it. And that's why you're concerned about it. So, as far as this whole 5G thing, I'm okay with T-Mobile and Sprint merge. Let them merge. Let's get this 5G on and popping. Let's get it going, because I just like to see what's going to happen with 5G, because I understand that potentially the landscape can change as a result of 5G. How it actually is going to do something that, can really help out customers in general. You know why I feel like some of these regulators are in the way of this? Because if you have T-Mobile and Sprint, and they are able to do what they say they're able to do, which is provide 5G in more areas, to compete with AT&T and Verizon at a slightly cheaper price, you're going to have more areas for 5G, which means you're going to have more people having a choice. So these cable monopolies that you got to deal with, now you go up to them and say, you know what? I'm done with you. I'm going to go ahead and get one of this 5G tower right here because it's faster and it's, I'm already paying my wireless company for a bill, so I can bundle and save with them versus you. Oh, I'll go ahead and cut the cord and be done all in general. And so really, I think there may be some other motives that's going on. And I won't be surprised if some of these people that are concerned about this merger are, let's just say, good friends with some of the cable companies out there that are saying, they see the writing on the wall, what can come of this, and how this can change the landscape, and how this is going to change big cable in general. And yeah, we already know cable companies are already trying to evolve and figure out how to react to the cord cutters, and more people saying, hey, we're not spending our hard-earned money going this way. And now that more opportunities and more competition is coming to the market, we're going to look towards them. And yeah, so as far as this whole deal with them blocking the merger going through, unless I read something that is legit on why they're trying to keep it going, I mean, really legit, I'm saying, look, stop hating, just get out the way, let these guys do their thing, and let's go ahead and get us a better company if we can do that. Now, if they're seeing something, that we're just not seeing, if T-Mobile and Sprint is basically lying, which I do think there are going to be some of the facts that T-Mobile and Sprint put out there on their page that explains the merger. I think some of it may be, I ain't gonna say overblown, but it may be, hype and pipe dreams that may never happen. I do believe that. I do believe that if we're expecting to get, quote, lower prices, I do have to question that. I I hope the price don't skyrocket, but I don't think we're gonna get quote lower prices. Just like any company say, our price is gonna be quote competitive, and by competitive, it may be a few dollars cheaper than the let's say AT&T or Verizon or our other competition, but it's gonna be in the same bracket. And we know when 5G come out, don't expect it to be cheap. Especially when it first get out there, they're going to want to take advantage of the early adopters, want to spend the extra money and use that extra money to continue on building those towers. And for me, the reason why I want to see it hurry up because of the simple fact that the sooner we get this out there, the sooner we get this going, the sooner we're going to see some of these smaller carriers like Boost, Metro, Cricket, and some of these other non-contract carriers, even like a Google Fi, start having 5G. And once that happens, it's going to force the price of these other 5G networks to get down. And the only way that's going to happen is when we start seeing 5G technology continue to grow. We start seeing more 5G phones. We start seeing, even your non-contract cheap phones start having 5G, especially when you start getting like your budget phones that you can get from Walmart. When you go to Walmart, you can buy a budget phone that's 5G, and you can put on a budget carrier and get 5G network. You know where we need to be because at that point, we done brought the competition or the price of what it costs to operate or use that, to a level where more and more people can jump on board. And I just believe that 5G is going to open up the avenue for technology in ways that we can't even imagine.